Overture curtain lights. This is it, the night of nights. No more rehearsing and nursing apart. We know every part by heart. Overture curtain lights. This is it, we'll hit the heights. And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it. Tonight, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it.
What's up, Jack? Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Cartoon Chatterbox. I'm here joined by by my buddies here, and I am very excited to talk about this one. In celebrating 100 years of Warner Brothers, we are going to go over some of the greatest cartoon characters of all time and their legacy of the Looney Tunes. Yeah. Guys, would you care to introduce yourselves?
Yep, hi, I'm Wesley, and I am also a Looney Tunes connoisseur. In fact, just before this episode, I bought a used copy of 50 Greatest Cartoons just for the sake of owning it.
I'm IrishHuskie, and I'm also here.
Yep.
Yeah, suffice it to say, the other two are probably going to be carrying this podcast.
Right. You see, this is the 100th anniversary of Warner Brothers. It's also the Disney centennial, but House of Mouse was kind of our celebration of that.
Yeah, and I'm Yodajax, and I'm just as much of a Looney Tunes nut as Wesley, so I'm happy to get started.
Right. You see, Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie is one of the first movies I have conscious memories of watching, because we rented the VHS tape when I was like 4.
Oh, wow.
That was actually my introduction to What's Opera Doc, which we'll get to shortly. I always remember Bugs Bunny dressed up in that purple pinkish bathrobe when getting started. It was always such an iconic image.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, my introduction was just watching some of the Looney Tunes and Merry Melody shorts as reruns on Cartoon Network.
Yep.
That was actually my favorite thing to watch on Cartoon Network. Even though Tom and Jerry, I enjoyed Tom and Jerry. Looney Tunes was what I always looked forward to seeing on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, I would get up early on Saturdays just to watch it, and it would be like a 4-hour marathon.
It's just a testament to how timeless these characters are. But the only question is, how do we get started?
There's so much history and so much stuff going on with it, and the first Looney Tunes short is roughly said to have been around 1931. I think it was Porky's Hare Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, it was that one did come out until 1938. I think this one had I want to say it started on Bosco. I think.
Oh yeah, Bosco, the questionable. Let's just say there's a reason he's not frequently featured.
Yeah, I heard that his creators, I want to say Hugh Harman and Rudolph Isling, took him after they left Warner Brothers.
Oh, so Warner Brothers has their own version of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit then.
Yeah, kind of, and they tried to create their own Mickey Mouse with a fox, I believe.
Foxy, yes. Back in the old days, Merry Melodies the Looney Tunes were the marquee, and the Merry Melodies were sort of like proto-music videos where they would sing songs and do stuff. But by the time Chuck Jones came in, they became interchangeable, and it was it depended on if you'd hear Merry Go Round Broke Down or Merrily We Roll Along, and that was the only difference.
Anytime you hear those two songs before a cartoon, you're gonna think of Looney Tunes as a whole.
Yep,
pretty much.
And it's funny because we say Merry Melodies because back in the day it could pretty much be considered as a ripoff to Silly Symphonies from Disney. It's no denying that they were competitors ever since they got started.
Right. Warner Brothers and Disney were technically founded the same year, so.
And but what actually kind of surprised me most when I started doing more research is that the first major star to come out of the Looney Tunes was Porky Pig.
No, I kind of see that. He's kind of the straight man, the everyman. He's often portrayed as the normal guy, the working hero.
I will say though, he had kind of a rough start, especially with like his original voice actor, which was not Mel Blanc. It was by Joe Darty. I want to say his name is.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
The thing is, he had a real life stutter, and it was like kind of hard to watch in some ways, and like very difficult for the animators because he was too expensive to like get it right.
But we had that, and Porky's Duck Hunt, of course, introduced Daffy. It's kind of funny the Bugs-Daffy rivalry having actual subtext to it.
Yeah, those Daffy actually came before Bugs. Like, even though like Porky's Hare Hunt came out a year later, Bugs didn't really like become Bugs Bunny until 1940.
Yeah, but they don't call that Bugs. That character's officially Happy Rabbit.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, like, even though on the model sheet, like, he was created by someone called Ben Buds Hardaway, and he was called Buds' Bunny, but then they were just like, why don't we just call him Buds Bunny?
But I think that was Tex Avery who gave him that name.
Actually, Tex Avery did not want to name him that. Like, one of his friends came up with that, but, like, when they were on to producers, he said, I want to name him Buds Bunny. Tex is like, nah, I don't want to do that. It sounds cutesy. And the guy said, too bad. We're calling him Buds Bunny.
Right. By the way, Tex was on Looney Tunes at the start, but he didn't stay for very long. He went to MGM. Kind of interesting to see what his Looney Tunes were, because they were so early on.
Yeah, like, I heard that Warner Brothers actually didn't give him enough freedom when he was there, but, like, MGM is actually where he started to be, like, make a name of himself.
Right.
Like, that's where I, of course, created a Droopy Dog.
Yep. But in terms of the Looney Tunes, he made the iconic introduction for Bugs Bunny Wild Hair, which inspired his famous catchphrase.
What's up, Doc?
Yep. Those 3 words echoed through cartoon stardom.
Yeah, like, Tex Avery said that, like, he heard this phrase a lot when he was a kid, just by, like, how kids often greet each other.
Wow. But it just worked, and it all just clicked for that story. But Bugs and Daffy being rivals in universe probably comes from how Bugs overtook Daffy.
What's strangely enough is that, like, in one cartoon, like, in the black and white, in the early 40s, Daffy kind of worshipped Bugs. Like, in one short, Porky Pig's Feet, Daffy, like, at one point says, yeah, Bugs Bunny, my hero. He did have of anything. I'm just like, man, like, it's totally different than what we're used to seeing them now.
Right. But of course, there's a lot of contrast between the old wacky Daffy and the more stuck-up, grumpy Daffy we see later.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of debate on which one is better.
Right. I think Freeling's Daffy meets in the middle, where he can have his funny moments, but also be grumpy and a foil to Bugs.
Yeah, even though like Chuck Jones is known for defining Daffy for his own, Freeling actually came up with like his greedy persona.
Right. Yeah. You see Chuck Jones's first short, Daffy Duck and the Dinosaur. You sort of see the balance between them. Daffy's still snarky, still edgy, but he still is the funny one.
Yeah, and like even back in his early cartoons, Daffy Duck would lose more than Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Like even in that short, he tries to get rid of the caveman and dinosaur, but it ends up blowing up in his face too. Like, maybe that wasn't such a hot idea after all.
But also another interesting thing, Toonheads, the old Cartoon Network show, did a special called Salesman Daffy. And it's pretty interesting just how many times Daffy is the salesman.
Yeah. Wasn't there one short where he was a talent agent?
Yep.
Yeah, he kept trying to, I think the kid was named Sleepy Lagoon.
But I always say, you're despicable every time I'm fed up with someone.
Yeah, I want to say Rapid Fire was the first time he ever said that.
I think so. That just feels right.
Yeah.
Then he said it in all 3 hunting shorts.
That's right, he did. Like the later 2, he would actually save for the end, but Rapid Fire, he kind of said it a bit early.
Right. Yep. Rabbit Fire is probably the most iconic of the hunting shorts. Rabbit Seasoning is the most acclaimed by historians. But don't sleep on Duck Rabbit Duck. That has some pretty funny moments.
I'm not gonna lie, that one might actually be my favorite of the trilogy.
Sweet!
Just all the ways that Daffy inexplicably tricks Elmer into thinking that he's all these different animals, and Bugs just conveniently has a sign saying it's that animal's hunting season.
Yeah, like I think Eric Goldberg, like the guy who animated the genie, said that was actually his favorite too. So you're not too far off, Nick.
Right. But it's kind of interesting also how the last one takes place in the winter, when the other are placed in the more traditional hunting season of autumn.
Yeah, and like I think the first one was springtime.
Yeah, springtime.
Yeah, like the first 2, like it's interesting. Rabbit Seasoning was the first one, first Looney Tunes cartoon to have Maurice Noble worked on it, like after he left Disney.
Wow, cool.
You know, there's such a big people. Like when exactly should we bring up Bob Clampett?
Around now is a good time because we're still in sort of the early period and chronicling the history. It's pretty well documented that Bob Clampett was an innovator. He was a creator, but he was also kind of a control freak.
Yeah, like if anything, I kept hearing that like the later Daffy Duck was kind of like based off him in a way.
Right. He was left out of the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie almost entirely due to a personal beef with Chuck.
Yeah, which I kind of felt bad for. Like, I get they had like a bit of a rivalry, and yeah, it was definitely right to be mad at Bob at some points, but like, I think he deserved a little bit of a credit.
Yeah, he did help to create the character. He was one of the several fathers.
Yeah, like along with Robert McKimson also.
Yep, because he did the early shorts. Was it Clampett who did Bugs Gets the Boyd?
Yes, it was. Like, that's where he brought in no with Beaky Buzzard.
Right, but it also introduced Bugs Bunny's snarkiness, his dialogue, and his tendency for cross-dressing.
Oh, yeah. At one point, when he's dancing with Beaky Buzzard, he doesn't even go in a dread. He just starts just like all women like when like dancing with them.
Yep. Again, a lot of people credit that to Jones, but no, Clampett started that too.
Yeah, and Bob Clampett also was the original creator for Tweety Bird.
Yeah, Tale of Two Kitties.
They brought in Babbitt and Costello.
Let me tell you this, though. There was that one joke about, give me the bird. If the Hayes office would only let me, I'd give him the Boyd all right.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get that joke until I was 10, and now it's one of my favorite moments in any Looney Tunes short.
That sounds like something you might hear on Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Yeah.
I'd swear, but standards won't let me.
Well, Animaniacs kind of did that. I would, but the censors won't let me.
Yeah.
But I think Sylvester came a little later.
Yeah, like Bob Clampett wanted to team those two up, but after he left the studio, Friz Freleng took over and paired them up.
Right. I think Friz Freleng was also the inspiration for the character of Yosemite Sam. Like, it's a direct model of him.
Yes, like I think Friz tried to deny it, but everybody who worked with him said, no. He's Yosemite Sam.
Yeah, it was funny watching the Looney Bugs Bunny movie. Chuck Jones did all the Elmer stuff, but Yosemite Sam was Freleng, and just the high energy and the contrast of their shorts, just seeing them all go through increasingly over the top ways to destroy each other.
What's interesting though is that even though Elmer was mostly from Chuck Jones, Friz Freleng wanted to create him after working on Elmer Fudd. But the thing is, Chuck Jones actually wanted to create a Marvin the Martian to be the opposite of Yosemite Sam.
And Marvin's actually my favorite Looney Tune. I relate to him on a very personal level.
Can I guess?
Yep.
Is it when Marvin says, "From Hairway to the Stars, delays"?
Yep, exactly. I see that all the time.
Like, he is the most relatable Looney Tunes cartoon ever just for that. Like, anyone can relate to him.
Yeah, and I love how the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie starts with one of his shorts, Highway to the Stars.
Like, I think it was the first time he was called Marvin the Martian, actually.
Yep, that was coining his name. There was the one where they were on the moon. Forget that one. Great short, by the way, his intro.
Hair Devil Hair, like...
Daredevil Hair, great short entry, by the way. His voice sounds a little off, but...
Yeah, like, I remember when I first saw it, I was, like, kind of, like, surprised when I heard his, like, weird, like, nasally kind of voice.
And I always love how he says Alluvium Q36 explosive space modulator as all one.
Yeah. Although I do kind of wish K9 talked more, like, because in that short, I thought he had a funny voice.
Yeah.
I guess I showed him. I guess I will try that. Then I guess I will put him.
Right, and also the commercial jingle in that is a running joke with my brothers.
And serve him 211. It gets stuff the mattress with the rest.
That's my brothers and I sing that to each other all the time.
Nice.
It was kind of crazy how they had a public domain VHS tape of all them, and it was Tweety Bird and Friends, but Tweety kind of looks just uncanny on that.
Wasn't his first one like the only Tweety Bird short they had on that VHS?
Yeah, because it's the only one that was copyright free.
Oh man, I only had one of those VHSs growing up where they had like just like all sorts of cartoon characters. It was kind of hard for me to sit through because like the quality was like kind of bad.
Yeah, there were a lot of the shorts were hit or miss at times.
I think the ones I remember on that VHS were Falling Hair and Daffy Duck and the Dinosaur.
Yeah, I remember those. Those are pretty good. Those are bangers. But
you mentioned earlier that Marvin the Martian saying delays was like the most relatable moment for you.
Yeah.
For me, the moment I relate to the most is from Rhapsody Rabbit, where Bugs is just trying to get ready to play. This one guy in the audience just keeps coughing loudly, so he just straight up shoots him.
I remember that.
I did not know that gag before going into it. I was laughing out loud at that. I cannot tell you how many times in school I've gotten up to present in front of the class and people just will not stop talking. It's like
oh for sure.
Yeah, I know that.
I worked hard on this project, guys. The least you can do is listen.
It's like, I want to get it over with. Stop making me delay it further.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I wish people would stop comparing it to that one Tom and Jerry short. I'm like, I don't care about the controversy. Both these shorts are funny. Just let it go.
Yeah. And they are a different experience. Seeing Bugs play the piano is different from seeing Tom.
Yeah, because they do different jokes with it.
Yeah.
Now that's a short I'd like to see the guys who do instruments are never animated correctly.
It's funny because Tom is playing the piece more or less correctly. It's funny because back in the day, Best Animated Short was what Best Animated Feature is now, the Disney Award. But the monopoly was broken in 1947 with Tweety Pie.
Yep, like, I will never forget the story of how this came to be. Like the big producer said, no, you can't pair these two up. It's a stupid idea. For his freely threatened to quit unless he gave in, he did, and look where we are now.
And it's funny because he's not even Sylvester in that short. His name's Thomas.
Oh, I smell a lawsuit coming.
Right, yep. So I see why they changed it. Also, a fun fact, Sylvester is said to be the closest to Mel Blanc's actual voice.
Yeah, Mel even said I think Sylvester was one of his favorite characters to voice.
Yeah, him and Dan Backslide.
Oh yes, that guy is just easily one of my favorite one-time characters from Mel Blanc.
I talked about getting a designated Talk Like Dan Backslide day.
I'm for it.
I'll run about. I'll steal it. No one will ever know.
My favorite is when he just goes, "The Dover boys. Then Dora must be alone and protected."
He just cracks me up every time.
Yeah.
Yep. But Tweety Pie broke the Disney monopoly and showed there was a new kid on town. Then in 1949, we had Chuck Jones's first Oscar for Sentimental Reasons.
And that one actually got him a congratulations letter from Walt Disney.
Right. High praise indeed. And it's as one of the many anthologized on the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie. I think it's shown uncut.
Yeah, with that one bit with the gun. Oh man.
Yeah, but it's a funny thing. It's a great debut for Mr. Pepe Le Pew and has a fun little twist ending.
Yeah, like to be honest, like I never was really bothered by Pepe Le Pew, to be honest.
No, you see, the thing is, in the shorts, he's always in the wrong. It's kind of telling that this is not proper behavior.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I was actually introduced to Pepe Le Pew like through a cameo. Like, there was a Tweety and Sylvester short where Sylvester paint himself like a skunk to get past some dogs to get Tweety, and then Pepe Le Pew comes in and starts starts acting lovey-dovey with him.
Was it the first? Yeah, this was not his first short. In the first short, it shows Pepe has a family.
Oh yeah, and like the French accent is all an act.
Right. You know, there are no skunks in France.
Really?
He's a tourist. He's from, like, Quebec or something.
Oh, man. Funny enough, there was one show I remember from Pepe Le Pew where, like, Penelope, like, Penelope Pussycat wanted to be with him, but, like, she wanted to stink herself up to be with him, while he in turn wanted to make himself smell nice, and then she starts chasing after him, which
so the roles are reversed.
Yeah.
Pepe Le Pew gets his. Right. In 1955, we had another winner, Speedy Gonzalez.
The fastest mouse in all Mexico.
Right. It's the original where he's trying to outsmart Sylvester in Border Patrol. Speedy Gonzalez had his shorts originally blocked from Cartoon Network, but the biggest proponents for airing them were Mexican Americans.
Which I think is just awesome. Like, I'm glad they helped Speedy Gonzalez get back on his feet.
Yeah, because you see, even if Speedy is a stereotype, he's also the hero in all his shorts.
Oh yeah, like he's always always saving the day. Like, I could do without him going up against Daffy though. Yeah.
Though that was, we'll get to that at the end because that's kind of the dark age.
Yeah.
In 1957, we had one of the biggest ones, Birds Anonymous.
Oh, yes.
It's one of the most iconic Looney Tunes shorts of all time.
It's also like the closest that Mel Blanc ever got to winning an Oscar.
Yeah. That's
like
the Academy's biggest mistake, not giving even an honorary award to Mel Blanc or June Foray.
Like, June Foray would actually later get an Emmy for Garfield, like in 2011.
Yeah, that's good on her. I'm glad they got that in.
Yeah.
But BA, which has it, and just the last scene with the desperation. Clarence. Clarence is the cat who talks like Marvin.
So the lesson here is that AA programs do not work.
Nope.
Actually, the funny thing is that like there were actually people from AA that really praised the short because of what Sylvester was like always trying to break his habit, and even at the end when he's trying to stop Clarence from getting Tweety, he's actually starting to make progress now because he's trying to stop him from getting Tweety.
Nice. Yeah. So they were conscious.
That's
and cool. The last Looney Tunes short that won was in 1958, the only time Bugs Bunny got anything. Nighty Night Bugs.
Yeah, like, wasn't there, like, didn't Bugs Bunny himself make a big stink about not getting an Oscar, like, even in the 40s?
Yeah, he lost to Jimmy Cagney, who coincidentally won that year in real life for Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yeah, like, isn't that another bit of a role reversal? Like, now we have, like, we're known for Daffy wanting to be in the spotlight, but back then, Buzz kind of was a bit of an attention hog, too.
Right. I thought it was funny how in the second movie they had the Oswald Awards. If only the Academy respected animation that much.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Nighty Night Bugs, while not one of the most iconic Looney Tunes shorts, is still pretty funny.
I will say, I first saw the short after I saw like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I thought the singing sword was going to be like the Frank Sinatra light sword from that movie, but I still laughed like crazy when I heard how the sword sounded in that short.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. And they have Yosemite Sam. Open up the drawbridge! Close it! Close it again!
Yeah. That's really funny about Yosemite Sam. Even though he's a cowboy, like he still plays in all these different time periods, or it's like different kind of like, or it's like a pirate or like a soldier or something like that. But like, it's always great. Even though he still acts like a cowboy.
Right. I thought it was funniest for the Bunker Hill Bunny, where he's a Hessian soldier. They didn't just make him British; they made him a Hessian elite, part of the German battalion that fought with the British. That was a pretty nice little nod.
I think one of my favorite shorts of him was when he tried to run for mayor.
Oh yeah.
Well, I speak loud, and I carry a bigger stick, and I use it too.
Oh yeah. Hey, you're going to there they can farm it. But
I think my favorite Yosemite Sam sketch is, or cartoon, is one you actually sent me, Yoda. Hair trimmed.
Oh yeah, the one with Granny.
Yeah. Funny thing is, it's funny. Like you sent me that one as like one of the more obscure ones, but I think I actually remember seeing that one in the wild a long time ago.
Wow. Like I love that one because I love how it sets up Yosemite Sam as just being like the most evil bastard ever when he just plans to like steal Granny's money and just kick her out of the house. Like
I thought he was
like
I thought he was going to plan to kill her so that he inherits it.
Yeah, and he was going to like close down the orphanage and get rid of the police department.
Hair trimmed isn't that obscure. It's like the main framing device for the second movie.
Yeah.
I don't see it on this. I don't see it on this top 100, so maybe it didn't get the respect it deserves. But yeah, I just love how they build him up as like even for a cartoon, he is just cartoonishly evil.
Right.
Yeah, like I also like when Bud dresses up as him and gives him the 2 lumps on the head.
Oh yeah, that joke appears again in Rabbitskin. How many lumps do you want?
3 or 4. Oh man, like I think Pete Puma is also a pretty underappreciated character.
Yeah. Like
voiced by the incredibly funny Stan Freberg.
Yeah, one of the few non-Mel Blanc appearances. Of course, you know, Elmer Fudd was voiced by Mel Blanc, but not in all the big ones.
Yeah, like he took over him. The original voice was Arthur Q. Bryan.
Yeah, Arthur Q. Bryan. He did that, and he actually had range.
Yeah, like there was one short where like he plays a customer in a hotel, and like I was surprised that he didn't even do like his Elmer Fudd voice for him. Right,
but yeah, Elmer, he could do that, and he sings very well as Elmer Fudd.
And of course, in What's Opera Doc, known to be one of the greatest cartoons of all time.
Yeah, which we're still building up to. By the way, for that, and then also the other cartoon, famous Looney Tune, not voiced by Mel Blanc, Roadrunner. Allegedly.
Yeah, like I first kept hearing from different people that it was Mel, but then I kept hearing that it was Paul Julian, like I'm a background artist.
Paul Julian, and I think they still use his vocal clips in modern shorts.
Yeah, like I keep hearing from different people that it's from like T. Bradley Baker or Frank Welker, but I'm like, it sounds too similar to Paul Julian. Like
it's all cow recordings. He only had to say 2 words. It's not like it's too demanding.
Yeah, like I think Simpsons even did a joke about like saying like the voice actor only did like 1 beep, but it's like no, they made me do 1, but they charged me for extra. Cheap bastards.
Beep beep.
Classic. Oh, I just looked it up, going back a bit. Arthur Q. Bryan also voiced Elmer Fudd in Wabbit Twubble.
That'll hit him all right. that big Chungus thing, like, I'm just like, I remember as a kid, I do, but I never thought it would literally blow up on the internet.
Yeah, it was funny the first time, but you kind of overdid the meme there.
I do remember that an SMG4 short all about Big Chungus.
Yeah.
Good.
It was wild. I'll give it that.
Yeah, I think enough time has passed from its ubiquity as a meme that it's kind of looped around to being funny again.
Right. They even used the joke in Space Jam too.
I'm hunting rabbits.
Right. Though apparently the animator put it in as an homage to the original short and was not aware of the meme.
How are you not aware of the meme? Where have you been?
Yeah.
In a rabbit hole.
Probably. And we answered that, but also sort of back to Roadrunner, we had Coyote trying to explain it. The thing is, the difference between this and Tom and Jerry is sort of like it's an arc for the Coyote. You want to see how big he can build, how far he can go in his pursuit of the Roadrunner.
Yeah, just like how like all of his devices can fail in the exact same location.
Yeah. He always falls off the cliff. There is one cartoon, exactly one, where he catches him.
Yeah, like doesn't he like isn't he like shrunk?
Yeah, he's
and
shrunk.
Like,
he doesn't, and since he's too small to practically eat them, he's like, okay, now what?
Yeah, like I do know. I remember there was one cartoon where the kids are like, "I want him to catch that Roadrunner."
Yeah.
They're like, well, if he caught him, there would be no more Roadrunner. You wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want that, would ya?
Right. I kind of also felt like it would be like that Sideshow Bob episode of The Simpsons where the joy he got from chasing the Roadrunner would outweigh the satisfaction of actually catching him.
Oh yeah, like and interesting enough, like whenever he has that speedy voice when going up against Bugs Bunny, like I always thought Kelsey Grammer would be a good voice for a Wile E. Coyote in a later incarnation.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, Wile E. Coyote does talk, just not with the Roadrunner. He talks with Bugs basically everywhere else.
Yeah, like I think they do a good job because in those shorts, you want to see him get his Justice Road Street just how much of a smug and egotistical pretty to be.
Yeah, he just slimily and sleazily says, "Oh, I'm going to devour you now." So, how about it?
Yeah, and according to Paul Dini in a commentary, Bloods has a look that says, "Dude, you deserve everything you're going to get and more."
Right. Nobody messes with Bugs Bunny.
What's funny is like I think in those shorts, it's more focused on the Coyote rather than Bugs Bunny, which is kind of different from his usual shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if anything, Bugs just sees messing with the Coyote is just like a way to kill some time.
Yeah, it's all a game to him. But yes, everyone's tried to go up against Bugs Bunny, but he always has a plan.
Well, he may have had a couple of seconds, like with the turtle and the gremlin.
Yeah, those were kind of anomalies, but and there was also the one where Elmer animates over him.
Yeah, like his own little duck amok.
Yeah, which we're also building up to. Mm-hmm. But the thing with that is it didn't work as well with Bugs because he didn't have the same personality.
Yeah.
There's still a few good jokes in there, but it wasn't as memorable quite. Who were some of the good one-off Looney Tune characters? There was that squirrel.
Like P. Puma, Dan Batslide, those are good one-offs.
There was the dog who was friends with Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah, the barnyard dog. Like, he appeared in the couple.
Yeah, he appeared in a few. I like the one where he's with Sylvester and they're trying to outwit the hog, and Foghorn Leghorn uses ventriloquism.
Yeah. Like, I remember as a kid, it was kind of surprising seeing Sylvester with a Foghorn.
Right.
If I were to guess, it was kind of around the time when they really didn't know what to do with Sylvester. Like, I mean, his previous short was Tweety Pie.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like they were trying to toss him around a bit, saying like what exactly they could exactly do with him.
Right. What are we gonna do? But yeah, it totally makes sense this and see with that.
Did Playboy Penguin appear in more than 2 shorts? I'm only seeing it in 2 on the Wikipedia.
Those were his only ones, but I think 8-Ball Bunny was his funnier one.
Yeah.
That's another one where Bugs kind of gets the short end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's just like trying to like do everything he can to keep this bird safe. But like one of my favorites is when he thinks he's down on the right boat, but when he hears us going to Brooklyn, Bugs just like spits out a street and just shrieks Brooklyn.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, Feed the Kitty. Does Mark Antony appear anymore?
He did it. They had like a couple more shorts like but they weren't as good as Feed the Kitty.
Right. No, that's one of the iconic ones. On the 50 greatest cartoons.
Like how is that not in the National Registry yet?
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, we just gotta submit it then.
I mean, for God's sake, Monsters Inc. paid homage to it.
Yep.
And South Park also did with the Coon trilogy.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's funny how in Monsters Inc., instead of the kitty being the one cooked, Kitty's the one freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that. Oh my gosh.
That's pretty good.
There's layers to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that short just put Mark Antony through hell and back. Like it's almost torture porn.
Right.
Yeah, like the most heartbreaking part about it is when he's brought back in to the house and the woman's like, "Oh, you look so sad. Here, I'll get you a cookie," and it's one that's shaped like a cat. I'm like, "Good Lord!" And he like puts it on his back and starts breaking down. I'm like, "Oh man, the poor thing."
Yeah.
Man, they did not pull punches, Looney Tunes.
Right.
Oh,
they're
absolutely not.
Yeah, they're surprisingly edgy. I think I was allowed to watch this as a kid because they have a lot of jokes that are just as adult as The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Man, I think that's what really does separate the Looney Tunes from the shorts like Disney. You know, that edge, that biting sarcasm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like The Simpsons, like I think like they even got like inspiration like for like the Three Bears for like The Simpsons as the first animated dysfunctional family.
Oh yeah.
Like A Bear for Punishment, I think is like their best outing.
Right. And just the way the poor Papa Bear gets tortured.
And all because it's Father's Day.
Right. And this other running joke I had with Looney Tunes with my brothers. He's not a one-off technically, but the Abominable Snowman.
You go.
Yes, I forgot he had a name, but I would quote that scene with my brothers all the time just to annoy them.
I'll love him and squeeze him, and I will call him George.
Yeah.
Like it's funny you brought up Mice and Men because I saw like a couple of those shorts like including one with Sylvester and Benny, who's like a parody of Lenny, and when I eventually got to read of Mice and Men in high school when they were talking about that, I'm like this is Looney Tunes, like this is like Looney Tunes, and I went up to the teacher and like this is when I saw Looney Tunes, and she smiled and said, "Yep, like I know what you're talking about."
There was a direct adaptation of it in there.
Yeah, I think that was the first Speed Gonzales cartoon, actually.
Right.
Like, but I remember one with Sylvester, where he's with me, where Sylvester tells him to stop calling him George and call him Sylvester, but he goes, "But I can't say Sylvester, George."
Right.
And Sylvester just, like, says, "Okay, fine, I'm George."
That's so funny and so heartbreaking. And of course, Looney Tunes would have been pretty much nothing without the music. It's many people's introduction to classical music.
Yep, mine too. Like, Carl Stalling is, like, one of the great musicians of animation, if not the animated musician.
Right. They had Ride of the Valkyries play on a ringtone in one sitcom. They're like, oh, you're an opera fan. No, I'm a Bugs Bunny fan.
Nice.
But yeah, Carl Stalling, he would mix it. One of my all-time favorites, the one that I revisit the most is Rabbit of Seville.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
Daintily.
Yeah, I actually saw Barber of Seville live when I was in college, and I was just tuning in for that brilliant overture. If you hear the overture, you will not unhear Bugs Bunny.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Like, my favorite is when he just slashes Elmer's face and he goes, but your face looks like it might have come through a machine.
Yeah, that timing, those lyrics, that's all so on top of things. And I like how in the beginning they show the names of the producers, but in Italian.
That's a nice touch.
Freeze frame both there. Carlo Jonesy, Michele Maltesi, Eduardo Salzi. And then there was a compilation tune where Bugs Bunny introduced it by saying, by Giancio, Antonio, Paltetto, Macametto, Macaroni, Farvioli, El Pasta, Fazul, Rossini.
I think one of my favorite Looney Tunes classical music shorts was Long-Haired Hair with Giovanni Jones. One of my favorite moments in the whole short is when Buzz comes out as Leopold Stokowski and everyone just goes, Leopold! Like,
I think we mentioned that in Mouse Madness when we talked about Fantasia.
Yeah, like, anytime I think of Fantasia with Leopold Stokowski, I always think of Leopold! Leopold!
Yep. And just the way he massively trolls Giovanni Jones.
Yeah. I always love when before Buzz has that final note planned, he's like cracking his nose and Giovanni looks nervous, like, what has he got planned for him?
Yeah. I think the aria Jones was singing was actually Largo Factotum, also for Barber of Seville.
Wow, I really like that one, don't they?
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite parts of the whole thing is when it looks like it's over, when he gets him a bounce, but there's one more boulder up there, and he makes it sink just a little bit more just so that it can fall on his head.
Right, yeah. You see, it goes like this, both animation and music are mediums based on timing. So it's easy to coordinate and time it all to music. Friz Freeling, I think, was originally a jazz musician, so he understood a lot of the powers of music. His Three Little Pigs short, which goes time to Brahms, that's a pretty good one.
The Three Little Bops?
No, the other one,
Three Pigs in a Polka.
Yeah, that one. Three Little Bops is pretty good, though. Clampett did the corny concerto, which is like a bonus Fantasia.
It's also like I think like the second time where Porky Tenderly went after Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
And it's one where they don't even talk for the most part.
Right. They play just two pieces and they're both by the same composer, Strauss.
It's a nice touch, though. My favorite part is when Buzz looks like he's dead and they're about to perform a surgery and it turns out he's wearing a bra and he freaks out.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, that is just fucking golden.
Yeah. Then the Blue Danube, which is another one that I can't unhear. Quack 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 quack.
Oh yeah, like right up there with the SpongeBob. Da 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 dum.
Another Clampett short I have some pretty fond memories of from the back of the public domain tape were Day at the Zoo and Farm Frolics. Day at the Zoo introduced the famous joke, you know those folks have my trunk for a week. And it sort of has Egghead, who's sort of like the original Elmer Fudd.
Oh,
yeah.
I just thought of another favorite one-off. The little man from the draft board from Drafty Daffy.
Oh yeah, I know that one.
No, I didn't say that.
My favorite part about the whole thing is that even though Daffy Duck is dead when he's in hell, that guy still comes back for him.
I wouldn't say that.
And like Daffy's still scared even though he's already dead.
Because The World War II propaganda cartoons are pretty interesting. Because you see, everyone was at war, so they wouldn't pull out any stops. Though Der Fuhrer's face from Disney is kind of taken out of context.
Oh yeah, like just for all the times they just show Donald Duck as a Nazi.
Yeah, but Daffy Duck is probably the only cartoon character in history to assault Hitler.
Yep. I'm just saying this right now. Mel Blanc's parody voice of Hitler is fucking hysterical.
Yeah, it's just how exaggerated. But come on, what other cartoon character can say they bashed Hitler with a mallet? We all wanted that.
Like, one of my favorites is when, like, his Hitler just, like, starts screaming and he just loud goes, so tight.
It's just random German words.
He also throws in Fritz Freeling's name, and he even throws in the title short, what's cooking duck?
Yep. Yeah, but it's funny because Daffy, he does speak proper German earlier in the short.
Yeah. I love when he tricks that one guy, and he goes to the food booth. He goes, "Oh, is that you, Mutt?"
But yeah, the World War II propaganda shorts are pretty interesting. For Bugs' shorts, it's kind of yikes.
Oh yeah. Oh geez, how do I talk about this? How do we talk about this one? Oh boy.
We just say it's a little un-PC. And then there's also the matter of Private Snafu, which is kind of an interesting relic, actually. They're not good, but it's like an all-star team-up of the Looney Tunes animators, and even some of them were written by Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, and like Chuck Jones and Dr. Seuss were later to go on to work on a couple specials like the Grinch and Horton.
Yep. Clampett did Horton Hatches the Egg.
Yeah, like, although I heard Dr. Seuss didn't care for that short that much.
Nah, it wasn't one of his better ones. He did much because he liked writing his own stuff.
Yeah.
There's one joke in live Clampett shorts that gets cut out, and it's somewhat disturbingly frequent.
Is it the Peter Lorre fish?
Yeah. Yeah, good thing we don't really think that anymore. I'm like, sure, don't shoot yourself. There are certain things that are worth seeing twice. But I've heard in the modern days, people will just say, "I'm ready, Jesus," or something to that extent.
Oh man, like, but with Peter Lorre though, like, I think pretty much everyone there was like a good chance of like a whole bunch of people that were introduced to him through Looney Tunes.
Yeah, mine was a hair-raising hair where he's the mad scientist.
And he was also in Looney Tunes Back in Action.
Oh yeah.
And I was very pleasantly surprised that he actually became kind of a character on SpongeBob, like as Slappy.
Slappy, yes, the servant to Nosferatu.
I was like, ever since I saw him in Birthday Blowout, I was hoping we would see more of this guy, and like, it didn't disappoint.
Right, he was in the big salute to Golden Age Hollywood. Hollywood steps out. Sometimes I find myself wondering who that short would feature if it were made today.
I think there was one short with him and Daffy where like he's trying to tell his daughter to be quiet and he goes, "I will do terrible things if I don't keep quiet. If there's no noise. Right. Do not make any noise."
Right. I said this before, but Peter Lorre was kind of like the Gilbert Gottfried of his day.
Yeah, he pretty much was.
Right. Oh yes, rabbit. What's the one where Humphrey Bogart, where they're serving Humphrey Bogart?
Slick hair.
Slick hair. I thought that was a pretty interesting one too.
Yeah. Why'd you hit me in the face with a coconut custard pie with whipped cream?
Yep. And Humphrey's drawn rotoscope photorealistic, but the Looney Tunes are still the Looney Tunes.
Yeah. I also love that one for like Bugs Bunny's famous salsa dance. I always thought that was a great little touch.
Yeah. There were quite a lot of celebrity cameos and references. Bugs Bunny himself was said to be modeled after Clark Gable.
Yeah, I've heard that from a couple people.
Yeah, it happened one night. He's holding the carrot and the whole time. Rabbits don't eat carrots. They don't provide enough nutrients.
Yeah.
So that kind of propagated the myth or the legend. A rabbit living off carrots is like a human living off cotton candy. But it just stuck because that image is so iconic. Is this a good time to get to the big three?
Sure. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all in the top 10 of the greatest cartoons of all time. They're all in the National Film Registry, and they're all Chuck Jones. We had at number 5, One Froggy Evening, featuring probably the most famous one-off Looney Tune.
Yeah.
Michigan J. Frog.
Can't believe they wrote a whole song just for that short. The Michigan Rag, that was an original. It was a collab between Michael Maltese and Carl Stalling.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
What do you think works most about the short? Because I hear from a couple people that they kind of feel bad for the guy who's trying to sell the frog to make a living.
Maybe, but I think what works is just how the frog just does not give a darn. He just totally is just puts on the facade.
Yeah, he performs for one man and one man only.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what also helps more is that the guy does not get the hint, even though he gets it even though he doesn't perform in front of one other guy. He's like, oh, maybe I can make money on this thing. I'm like, dude, this fraud is gonna ruin your life, man.
Right. I don't know how this would have gone in the cell phone era.
Oh yeah.
Where you could just take a video of anything instantly.
One of my favorite parts in our whole thing is when he's now sitting on a bench, pretty much homeless, I think, and that frog will not stop sitting in front of him. I'm like,
and it's Barber Seville again.
He looks like he wants to kill that frog so badly, but that frog just won't stop.
Yeah, Roger Ebert called it the Citizen Kane of animation in terms of the drama and the character arc.
Yeah.
The 1001 Rabbit Tales, they include that at the end as the original, but they cut out the punchline.
Yeah, where it's in the future and we see some other guy that's probably going to try and do the same thing with this frog.
Right. It's really that's the whole punch of the short. You're cutting out what it's building up to. I think this came from the old legend of frogs being around burial sites. It's an old folk custom or something. And then we had the number 2 greatest cartoon, which is a lot of people's number 1, Duck Amuck.
It's my number 1.
Yeah.
Animator versus animation is one of my favorite genres.
Yeah, it sort of was a big postmodern thing before postmodern ideas. It questioned the idea of the character as a creation, and they totally just destroy the medium.
Mm-hmm.
Daffy Duck was really the most perfect character to use for this kind of idea. One of my favorite bits of the whole short is when he goes, "Let's get this picture started." No!
That's my favorite joke of the. I laugh every time. It gets me every single time I watch it. And then when he's drawn really wonky.
Yeah.
The screwball design, the wonky thing, and he doesn't even notice until they draw a mirror.
Yeah. I thought when he was drawn in a sailor's uniform, he'd get offended that he looked like Donald Duck.
No, that would probably get the lawyers in on it.
Or at least hint that he's upset by it before just leaning into the bit.
Oh right, that would have worked better.
I also like when he's hitting the anvil with a hammer after being put through heck, but then the animator draws a missile instead.
Right, and he's actually reading a poem, "The Village Smithy" by Longfellow. That's a real poem.
Yeah.
And of course, the animator being Bugs Bunny is just a hilarious twist.
Nice, stinker.
Yeah.
Yes, the idea of this short, the animator rebelling against the creator, often imitated but never fully replicated, because it's just the perfect blend of character to animation to style. Yep. And then, of course, the number one, the one that we have been building up to, What's Opera Dog?
What an absolute classic. What a treasure.
Yeah, you hear Arthur Q. Bryan's pipes. It all comes together. The story. For the dance scene, they had actual ballet dancers serve as reference.
Chuck and his team really went out in this short.
They spared no expense.
My favorite is near the end, they really play up if this was a Bugs Bunny cartoon as an opera when Elmer strikes it down, but then just regrets doing it, saying "What have I done? I killed the rabbit." I'm which is always funny, but it's just as much funnier being put in opera form.
Yeah, it's just beautiful that resolution, and you actually feel sorry for Homer. It's so framed, so dramatic, and so serious.
And that beautiful shot of him too, carrying Bugs up to I don't know, the heavens or something like that. It is Maurice Noble's backgrounds just look beautiful in that short.
Right. Well, as you expected an opera, a happy ending.
Yeah.
No, but I expected it from a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Yeah. What else can you say?
Yeah. It's just beautiful. It's okay. And funny enough, the horse has a fandom.
Yeah, I often see that horse drawn a lot in parody pieces.
Yeah. It's that all the fat and all the thickness that would have gone to Brunhilde is put on the horse.
Yeah, and was funny enough, I've seen this cartoon actually perform live on stage a couple times on YouTube. One of my favorite little bits they do is when Elmer Fudd does the Typhoons, Hurricane, Earthquakes bits. They still keep in the line that Mel Blanc had to do for Elmer Fudd in that one, where he goes "Smug."
Oh wow, I didn't even notice that. That clip is just so seamless. Was that line improv?
I hear when Arthur did it, it didn't quite reach the kind of performance that they're looking for. So
yeah, he didn't hit the crack. His voice didn't crack the same.
Yeah, so they just brought in Mel Blanc to do that one little line where he just "Smug."
And it's still seamless.
Yeah, when I got older, when I found that out, I'm just yeah, that sounds about right. But even then, as a kid, I'm I never would have guessed it.
Right, and it goes far. And of course, it borrows a lot of its plot from De Valkyr, but the music, the overture is the Flying Dutchman, and the Bugs Bunny chorus, the Brunhilde bit, is from Tannhauser. But they did all their stops, and they were really into the whole Wagner thing. They captured the operatic. It wasn't even nominated for the Academy Award, probably because it was too ahead of its time and too expensive. They say Joe's honorary award was a makeup for this one.
That was surprising to me. I was surprised that this never won an Oscar, or at least was never nominated.
Yeah, it was pretty big deal. It pulls out all the stops. It's in many ways the quintessential Looney Tunes short. Take something familiar, add comedy, spin a certain way, get the great music and the great animating.
Yeah, it's easily my second favorite Looney Tunes short.
Yeah. Yeah, I think your first one is rabbit seasoning.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
Pronoun trouble.
That one is just so sharply written.
I didn't know Daffy was woke.
Right. No, yeah, that line would make a whole lot of different meanings 50 years later. No, it is not. You don't have to shoot him now, so you'd have to shoot me now. So shoot me now. He tries to outsmart Elmer, but in turn gets outsmarted himself.
You can't pull one over on Bugs. That's the lesson.
Yep. Okay, so we've gone through the glory days, so now it's time to talk about the decline.
Oh, this makes me sad.
Yeah, all good things must come to an end. It was the late 60s, and most of the old guard had either left or had nothing to work with.
What's strange enough is that when they moved into the 60s, they lost some of the licensing to use for some of the characters. Like, really, the only ones they could use were, like, Daffy Duck, Speed Gonzales, and, like, a couple others.
Yeah, even Bugs Bunny, the goat, was locked away.
Yeah.
So that explains why Daffy Duck's Fantastic Island was such a bore.
And, this really does, like, I don't know what to say, but does one of the later Looney Tunes characters created was named Cool Cat.
Oh no!
Exquisite!
Oh no!
I am like, why? Why?
You can't make that stuff up!
I am like, I can't believe that this actually was a thing.
Yeah, it was.
He's not even a cat, he's a tiger.
Right.
He looks like a prototype Tony the Tiger.
He basically was. But yeah, the later ones just weren't as funny. They were crudely animated. They were just so below the standards.
There was like one short where like they had Speed Gonzales race against the Roadrunner. I'm like, it cannot. There's no excuse for it to be this boring and repetitive.
Yeah, like, come on. How do you mess that up?
I'm
That's one of the ones we've always waited for our whole lives.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I'm like, they even brought like Witch Hazel back from one of them. I'm like, which I love Witch Hazel, but I'm just like, it's just so weird for Speed Gonzales to be living in our house. It's just like, it's kind of weird.
Right. Witch Hazel, she's a pretty cool character. And June Foray also, the one for that.
Yeah.
There was a shortage of female Looney Tunes, which we'll get to a little bit how they rectified that, but June really did a lot of them. I think from the OG Looney Tunes era, it's Granny, Witch Hazel, Mama Bear, and Melissa Duck.
I think also Miss Prissy was also one of them from Foghorn Leghorn.
Right, and is Petunia Pig an older character too?
Yeah, she was, but like, never really was a fan of her.
Yeah, and she had like 3 shorts, so
it wouldn't be until the Looney Tunes cartoons where they actually started to make her a fun character.
Right, the new ones.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we'll get to that later. But things were really quiet in the 60s. Then in the 70s, we had the package film re-releases. They're pretty good, but when you get to the frame device, you hear Mel Blanc's voice age 20 years.
That is true. Like, I think Daffy Duck's Quackbusters was one of his last performances before he actually passed away.
Yeah, really a shame. And you hear it then, Daffy does sound like a chain smoker.
The strange thing is that they don't pitch up Daffy and Porky's newer like audio in that movie, which they did several times in the past.
Right. Did that, and then things went to the... Wait, what about I think the last Looney Tunes short released that got any sort of regularity or addition to the canon was the Body Snatchers one.
Yeah, that was like that was when we had Jeff Bergman come in to do the voices of the characters.
Jeff Bergman. When did Joe Lasky show up?
I think it was a little bit around the same time, but Jeff Bergman was first.
Yeah, Jeff Bergman was first. That's like the last of the Looney Tunes shorts before the commodification. It was the last theatrically.
Although in Roger Rabbit, even though Mel Blanc voiced a couple of them, Joe Lasky did some of the ones that Mel couldn't do. He was Yosemite Sam and did some audio for Foghorn.
Yep, I knew that one. I knew that. It's kind of crazy to think how in just about 15 years or so, Bugs Bunny will lose copyright and we can have Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny share a movie again.
Oh, that's going to be wild.
Yeah, that's going to be wild. Don't do Blood and Honey, people. Please don't do what you did with Winnie the Pooh.
No.
Yeah, don't be like that. No,
it's funny to think about when you're an edgy middle schooler, but one is enough. We don't need this to be a thing.
Right. Yeah. But then we get to where I came in, the 90s, the Attitude Era, the commercial era.
Yeah, we gotta go Air Jordan and all that stuff. Air Jordan.
Yeah, trust me, I was there. If you could put a price tag on them, there was a Looney Tunes version of it. And then you go into those stores, those really ghetto stores with the bootleg gangster Looney Tunes t-shirts.
Oh, jeez.
That's like how the characters endured, for better or worse. We got the original Space Jam, which is a product of its time.
It is, though. I actually do think the voice acting in that film was pretty good.
Yeah, the voice acting is pretty good. It's the first introduction to a lot of the more modern voices, like Bergman.
Yeah, and actually, Jeff Bergman wasn't in that one.
Right. Oh, wait, no, he wasn't?
Yeah, it was Billy West was Bugs.
Oh, Billy West. Yeah, Billy West. He was good.
And D. Bradley Baker and Bill Farmer, they were also in it.
Oh, veterans. Cool.
Although, in terms of the live action acting, Wayne Knight I thought was pretty good in that movie.
Yeah, Wayne Knight, he was pretty good. He
and Danny DeVito as a SWAT hammer, I thought he was pretty fun.
Yeah, and the soundtrack's pretty cool too. I've heard a lot of people think "Fly Like an Eagle" was a Seal song.
Although, here's what I would say about a certain artist who worked in the movie. I believe I can fly out of prison.
Yep, that's right. But we had a whole bunch of other stuff there again, like "Fly Like an Eagle." It's pretty. And yeah, Air Jordan was just as marketed. But on the bright side, we got the Looney Tunes on Cartoon Network, and that was like one of the last times that they would be publicly available on television.
It's so weird how they were on Nickelodeon for a bit, too.
Right. That was before I was born. Then we had Baby Looney Tunes, which is like Muppet Babies, but boring.
Yeah.
That's actually something I remember watching before school when I was in like 1st and 2nd grade.
Yeah, I kind of remember that, too.
Yeah. And then we had Duck Dodgers, which was actually okay. That one had its moments.
I've rewatched a couple of Duck Dodgers, and yeah, they're pretty good.
I'm surprised how they were able to take a singular 7-minute short and make the most of it.
The funny thing is, they tried doing that again with the 80s. George Lucas actually requested Chuck Jones to make a sequel short to show before The Empire Strikes Back, but they couldn't get it finished in time.
Oh man, we were robbed.
Like, it did get finished, just not in time for the movie.
Yeah. I mean, the Duck Dodgers short is one of the best of the originals, just for how crazy it is and how they go with the sci-fi stuff. And I'm glad they go for that. And it had Dave Mustaine as a guest star.
Wait, the guy from Megadeth?
And Metallica, yes.
I remember the Iron Giant. I remember the Iron Giant reference the most in Duck Dodgers.
Oh yeah, the robot.
And also Samurai Jack, which actually got a hold of Jenny Tarkovsky and Mako to come back. Like, that was a nice touch.
Nice. That would have been one of Mako's last performances, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. At least it was a better modern update than Lunatics Unleashed.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna. We don't need to say much on that.
It had an interesting idea, an interesting premise. The problem is it just didn't need to be the Looney Tunes in this role.
Yeah.
You could have used any other nostalgic characters or heck, even original characters, and it would have been the same show.
Yeah, and then we had Looney Tunes Back in Action, which I think was pretty good. Like, I think that was a good movie.
Perhaps I was a little hard on it. It's all right. It does a little good social commentary. It's just the story's kind of all over the place. I did like Brendan Fraser in that movie, though, and the meta joke with him. You know that guy in The Mummy? I was in that movie more than Brendan Fraser.
I love the joke they did with Scooby-Doo.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I also love how it's funny because Matthew Lillard was one of the best actors in those movies, and he would later go on to be the actual voice for Shaggy.
Yeah, he would take over for Shaggy after Casey Kasem couldn't anymore.
Yeah. And, like, you can tell that movie was made by people who really loved Looney Tunes.
Yeah. It was directed by Joe Dante, after all.
Yeah, and it had involvement from Eric Goldberg, like the Genie animator.
Right. Yeah. The opening scene of Gremlins 2 is the best part of that movie. Because it has the Looney Tunes. But it was an attempt, but it didn't really take off money-wise. I think it was a case of it being probably a little bit ahead of its time.
Yeah.
I mean, after we had Rescue Rangers, which is almost the same movie, it could have succeeded pretty well in the post-streaming era.
Yeah, like, although, have you ever seen the Flash Looney Tunes cartoons? I actually have a couple of those on DVD, and I think they were pretty funny.
I might recognize one if I saw it, but
I remember a Toon Maroon the most. They did a parody of Survivor, and it was pretty good. I think it's pretty funny. I think it still holds up today.
Yeah. Then around the turn of the 2010s, we had a comeback with Wabbit.
And don't forget the Looney Tunes show.
Oh yeah, the Looney Tunes show. That's pretty funny. It wasn't well received at the time because they didn't know about the sitcom formula, but it's been getting a reevaluation as of late.
Yeah, the first season I think is kind of hit and miss, but the second season I think it got better.
Yeah, the idea is you have these characters, you have these guys who are adapted to any setting. They could be pirates, they can be space rangers, they can be opera stars, but they're still these characters. They still have set personalities and gimmicks. The key is translating those gimmicks to a certain formula.
Yeah, I actually spoke to one of the directors of one of the Looney Tunes show, and he's a pretty nice guy.
Nice.
I contacted him, showed him some of my work, he got back to me and gave me some feedback. That's pretty cool.
Right, and this show also redeemed Lola.
Yes, Kristen Wiig just knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, a character who was window dressing for most of her appearances before this. Mm-hmm. I was surprised at the recency of Tweety's high-flying adventure. I always thought that was a little older, but no, Lola's cameo dates it a little.
I always thought that was like an 80s film.
Nope, it had to be late 90s because Lola's in it.
Wow.
Yeah, she was a reporter.
But we had those, and we kind of had the comeback, and Lola is not just female bugs, even in the new Looney Tunes short. She's just nuts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, one of the new Looney Tunes I remember seeing, though, is the Game of Thrones parody where she just comes in on a dragon.
Oh yeah, I will say, in the new Looney Tunes shorts, I get that it's Cat Sushi who is the original Lola, but I'm just I just think that Kristen Wiig just made the character funnier.
Yeah, she was the better Lola. She was the one who had it. Though I do think Katsushi kind of got screwed over in Space Jam 2.
Yeah, even though I actually really kind of like Space Jam 2, to be honest.
It was alright. It was I like it better than Space Jam 1 simply because it's weirder, but I just don't think it should have been called Space Jam. But they wanted a more bankable star. Katsushi, you recorded a lot of stuff, but we don't think your name's going to sell tickets. Hey, Zendaya, you free?
It was also the first movie I saw after, the pandemic started to, slow down a bit.
Yeah, me too. I made an appointment to go for it. I was like, okay, I'm going to see Looney Tunes to see Space Jam New Legacy, just because that's the kind of guy I am. But they do that, and there's a much better dynamic with the cast in this one. I kind of do like the Looney Tunes subplot of them all moving on.
Yeah.
It's kind of a good reality subtext. It's actually pretty emotional.
I know a lot of people criticize the fact that they act like a family, but I'm I don't care. They're actors off camera. I'm I can let it slide.
Yeah, even back in the old days, it showed that they were actors within the context of their shorts.
There was one intro I remember to one of their TV shows where aired their classic shorts, where we saw them behind star doors. We saw Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner on a couch together, chilling watching the TV. But when they saw us watching them, they just started chasing each other like normal.
Oh, yep. So the idea of them being friends is not unheard of.
Yeah, and also Elmer Fudd's kind of a ladies' man. Who knew?
Oh yeah. Must be something about the bald head.
Yeah.
But they introduced Lola for the sake of having another consistent female character, and she's able to stand on her own in the more modern shorts once they figured out what to do with her.
And then HBO Max came along and gave us Looney Tunes cartoons, which, in my opinion, may be the best they've been since their early days.
Yeah, all the old masters are dead, but these are the people who are studied from the old masters. They're the ones who can do it right. The voice acting's fun, the animation's fun, and Marvin, he's still Marvin.
Yeah, like I will say, when I first heard this show in production, when I heard the guy behind Uncle Grandpa was behind it, I was like, Uncle Grandpa? I'm like, I was first like turned off by it, but then I saw the design of it. I was like, okay, that looks very faithful. And then I saw like a clip of Elmer Fudd Buzz like with a dynamite stick. And I'm like, I actually thought this was one of the early cartoons. I'm like, did I miss one?
But no, the thing is, Uncle Grandpa's already crazy and loony. If anyone was going to do it, it would be him. Regardless of what you think of Uncle Grandpa, it's pretty close in style and tone. He did his homework.
Yeah, I'm like, I think Eric Bauza did a superb job too. Like I already thought he was a good job in Looney Tunes World of Mayhem, like on that mobile app game, but he really skyrocketed supreme when he started doing like more and more Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, Eric Bauza's really cool and really good. His impressions are impeccable.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like his Chris Rock was dead on.
Also, special shout out to him for joining the writer's strike. Like, Eric Bauza, you a good man.
Eric Bauza, amazing. And again, from what I've heard, he seems like a genuinely nice guy. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's the history. Almost 100 full years of Looney Tunes through there. And TCM's picking up on it. For every Warner Brothers movie they've shown recently, they've played a Looney Tune before it.
Oh, cool.
And they're still going. When I went to Hollywood, I took a picture on Bugs Bunny's star.
Nice.
Uh-huh.
And trying to think what else was there. But yeah, the Looney Tunes are on Treasure TV, which compiled the 100,000 most acclaimed TV shows. Looney Tunes are number 121. They're sort of the oldest animated show that has received this high level of acclaim. They're technically started as theatrical shorts, but let's be real. We all saw them from television. They were there at the start of TV, and they're still on in some capacity with streaming.
Yeah, they know how to adapt.
Right. It's kind of interesting also to think the oldest show listed on the Looney Tunes cartoon on Treasure TV was Looney Tunes. The newest is Arcane. And that's kind of a pretty nice timeline to see how we came for the last 100 years.
Oh, for sure.
From Looney Tunes to Arcane. What a jump. So you want to call it off here?
Yeah, I think it's a good place to end.
Yeah.
I think one last thing I really appreciate about Looney Tunes is that it's almost completely non sequitur. You can watch any episode in any order. Almost nothing follows from another, which made it really, really helpful to actually catch up for this podcast in particular. And Wesley, thank you for that link to the 100 greatest Looney Tunes. That was a very good primer. Got a lot of info from that.
Yep, it was. Jerry Beck's the best at his job. But I'm glad I could share with all this, and this was a nice little trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was nice hearing from you guys again, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Later.
Yeah. Later.